Okay, so today we're taking a deep dive into something pretty fascinating
Yeah.
and often really misunderstood, I think. We're talking about the dark web.
Ooh, spooky.
It is a little bit spooky, right?
Yeah.
We've got a whole bunch of information here
Okay.
that aims to really unravel this whole digital world for you.
Right.
So our mission today is to understand what the dark web actually is,
Yeah.
where it came from,
Mm.
what happens there,
Okay.
and most importantly, I think, separate the facts from all the myths and misconceptions.
Absolutely.
We're going to be looking at all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
We'll be navigating those different layers of the internet.
Right.
We're going to uncover the dark web's origins, which are really quite surprising.
Okay.
We'll be looking at all kinds of activities.
Ooh,
We'll
wow.
examine some real-world cases,
Uh-huh.
bust some of those common myths,
Okay.
and even offer some basic safety tips
All right.
if your curiosity leads you down that path.
Oh, yeah, that's important. Safety first, right?
Definitely. Always.
Always.
Now, I think a really helpful way to think about the internet as a whole
Yeah.
is like an iceberg.
Okay, I've heard this one.
Have you?
Yeah.
So at the very top, you have the surface web.
Right.
That's the bit we're all interacting with every day.
Right, the tip,
That's-
exactly
yeah.
the iceberg, yeah.
Your Google searches,
Right.
your social media feeds, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff we use every day.
Exactly. Now, beneath that
Yeah.
lies the deep web.
Yes, way bigger.
Much, much larger portion
All right.
that isn't indexed by those search engines.
Exactly.
Now, think about your online life, right?
Hmm.
Emails, online banking,
Yeah.
medical records.
Right, right.
All that sits within the deep web,
Hmm.
hidden from those general search results.
It's not meant to be public, right?
Not at all. That's why it's deep.
It's meant to be private.
Yeah.
And then right at the very bottom,
Okay.
deliberately concealed.
Requiring special tools to access.
Oh.
You have the dark web,
The bottom of the iceberg?
the mysterious hidden part.
Yeah.
And this is key, all right?
Right.
Just accessing the dark web itself isn't illegal.
Right, right.
It's what you do there.
Uh-huh.
The specific actions you take
Yeah.
that determine whether something is legal or not.
Makes sense.
So let's dig into this iceberg a little bit further.
Okay.
Paint a clearer picture for everyone.
All right, let's do it.
So the surface web, as we said,
Mm.
this is what most of us are using daily.
Yeah, every day.
It's the websites that pop up when you
Yeah.
use those search engines.
Yeah.
Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo.
Uh-huh. The usual suspects.
You're watching videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
catching up with friends on Facebook, whatever it might be.
Yes, scrolling through, liking posts.
All happens on the surface web,
Right.
designed to be easily discoverable
Yeah, it's all out there.
for your everyday browsing.
Makes sense.
Then we have the deep web,
Right.
which is significantly larger.
Way bigger.
And this is where things become a bit less visible
Hmm.
for the average internet user.
Uh-huh.
It's content that isn't indexed.
Right, so you can't just Google it.
You can't just Google it.
Yeah.
Why isn't it indexed? What's keeping it hidden?
Well, usually for security reasons, right?
Okay.
Like it's private,
Right.
your personal privacy.
That makes sense.
It could be stuff that's constantly updating, like your emails.
Okay. Yeah.
Search engines can't just go behind a login page
Right.
and index all your private messages.
That wouldn't be good.
No, not at all.
Or bank statements, for that matter.
Exactly. That's deep web stuff.
Yeah.
Medical records, that's another good example.
Right.
Securely stored, not for public access.
Definitely not.
So it's not necessarily shady or anything.
Right.
It's just protected.
Behind those digital gates.
Yeah, exactly.
And that brings us to the dark web.
Okay, the mysterious one.
So what really sets it apart?
Well, the main thing is that it's intentionally hidden.
Okay.
It's deliberately concealed.
Hmm.
You need specific software to get in.
Right.
The most well-known is the Tor browser.
Okay.
Now, these networks, they use layers of encryption.
Right.
It's called onion routing.
Onion routing.
Yeah, your internet traffic bounces through all these different servers.
Oh, wow.
So it's really hard to trace.
Makes sense.
It's not just content that Google can't find.
Right.
It's content that's actively trying to stay hidden.
From everyone.
Yeah, even people who are trying to snoop.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It wasn't some group of hackers in a basement
Hmm.
who dreamt up the dark web.
Who was it then?
The U.S. Navy actually created the core technology behind it.
The Navy.
Yeah, back in the mid-1990s.
Wow, that's surprising.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why would the Navy
Mhm.
be involved in something
Right.
that we now associate with, well, less than legal activities?
Good question.
What was their thinking?
Well, initially, they wanted to protect their own communications.
Right. Makes sense.
They needed a way for their operatives to communicate
Uh-huh.
securely and anonymously.
Okay.
They had to protect their identities
Yeah.
and sensitive information from, the bad guys.
So it was all about security
Yeah, like a digital cloak of invisibility.
for crucial information.
Exactly.
Okay, so then how did this technology
Yeah.
go from being a tool for naval intelligence
Right.
to something that's available publicly? Like, how did we get access to it?
Well, they actually made it public later on.
Really?
Yeah. The idea was to provide anonymous browsing,
Okay.
not just for government, but for everyone.
Okay.
Think about journalists protecting their sources,
Right.
activists in dangerous countries,
Yeah.
anyone who needed anonymity.
Makes sense.
They wanted to protect free speech and privacy.
In a digital world.
Exactly.
So it's a tool that can be used for good, but also for bad.
Right. Like a double-edged sword.
Kind of like a really sharp knife,
Okay.
useful for surgery,
Right.
but also, unfortunately, capable of causing harm.
I get it.
The technology itself is neutral.
Yeah.
It's how people use it
Right.
that matters.
Makes sense.
So the same tech that can protect a whistleblower can also be used by someone selling illegal stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's that anonymity that makes it difficult to trace,
Right.
which can be good and bad.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we know what the dark web is and where it came from.
Yeah.
Let's take a look inside.
Okay.
What might you actually find there?
Good question.
It's not just one giant illegal shop, right?
No, not at all.
There's more to it.
Yeah, it's actually quite diverse.
Okay, so what are some of the categories?
Well, first, you do have those illegal marketplaces.
Right, like the black markets?
Yeah, exactly.
I always pictured those smoky back rooms with shady characters.
Right, but online.
But online. So
Yeah.
what kind of stuff are they selling?
Oh, all sorts of illegal things.
Okay.
Drugs, weapons, counterfeit money.
Right.
You name it, it's probably there.
Scary.
Yeah, it can be.
Okay, what else?
Well, stolen data is a big one.
Stolen data?
Yeah, think credit card numbers,
Oh,
login credentials.
okay.
They even have medical records sometimes.
Medical records.
Yeah, it's all about making money, unfortunately.
So your personal info could be floating around out there.
It's possible, yeah.
That's worrying.
Yeah, it's a real risk.
What other kinds of things might you find?
Well, there are services for hire.
Services?
Yeah, like hacking services.
Oh, wow.
You can pay someone to hack into a system.
That's unsettling.
Yeah, it can be.
What else?
They can also create fake documents,
Fake documents like...
passports, driver's licenses,
Oh, wow.
and, well, other services that are much worse, really.
Right. Let's not go into those.
Probably best not to.
Okay, so that's a pretty dark picture.
Yeah, it can be.
But are there any legitimate uses for the dark web?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, a good example is whistleblower platforms.
Whistleblower platform.
Yeah, there are secure channels for leaking information,
Okay.
often to journalists or organizations.
Right. So people can expose wrongdoing
Exactly.
without revealing their identity.
Right. They need to stay anonymous.
Like a digital dead drop.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So that's actually a valuable use.
Yeah, especially in places where free speech is limited.
Right, where it's dangerous to speak out.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
Then you have darknet forums.
Forums?
Yeah, like online discussion boards.
Okay.
Some are pretty harmless, political discussions, hobbies,
Right.
but others can get pretty intense.
How so?
Conspiracy theories, planning illegal activities.
Right, because it's all anonymous.
Yeah, people can say things they wouldn't normally say.
Makes sense.
So it's a real mix,
Yeah, it sounds like
It's good and bad.
not all bad, but not all good either.
Exactly.
So it's important to remember that the dark web isn't just some criminal underworld.
Right.
There are legitimate uses,
Yeah, definitely.
but a lot of it is outside the law.
That's true.
Okay, let's talk about some real-world cases
Okay.
that have made headlines.
Right.
They really highlight the impact of the dark web on the real world.
Okay.
One of the most famous cases is Silk Road,
Silk Road, yeah.
an online marketplace for illegal drugs.
Right.
It operated on the Tor network
Uh-huh.
between 2011 and 2013.
A while ago now.
It was huge.
Yeah, it was.
And it was pretty brazen.
Oh, yeah, very open about it.
Now, the founder of Silk Road,
Mm.
Ross Ulbricht,
Right.
he thought he was anonymous,
Yeah, a lot of people do.
but he was caught.
Mhm.
He's serving a double life sentence.
Wow.
So even with all that tech,
Yeah.
anonymity isn't guaranteed.
No, it's not.
And this case really showed that the dark web isn't beyond the reach of the law.
Right. They can still find you.
Another case is the Ashley Madison hack.
Ashley Madison, yeah.
Now, Ashley Madison wasn't on the dark web,
Okay.
but the data breach
Wow.
and the release of all that user information, it really highlighted the dangers of online activities in general.
Right.
I mean, it was a website for extramarital affairs.
Yeah. Very sensitive information.
Very sensitive. And it had a huge impact.
Yeah, millions of people were affected.
It showed that even seemingly private information can be misused.
Absolutely.
And then there's Playpen.
Oh, that one's really disturbing.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
This was a dark website involved in child exploitation.
Horrible.
Absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this case is that the FBI actually took control of the site.
They did?
Yeah, they operated it for a while to identify and catch the users.
So they were using it to catch the criminals.
Exactly.
That's smart.
And it was successful. They apprehended a lot of people.
That's good to hear.
So even though the dark web is hidden, it's not a lawless free-for-all.
Right.
Law enforcement is active there.
Yeah, they're working hard.
It's a constant cat-and-mouse game.
I can imagine.
Okay, let's talk about some of the myths surrounding the dark web.
Okay.
There are a lot of them out there.
Yeah, for sure.
One big myth is that it's absolutely massive.
Right, like way bigger than the regular internet.
Yeah, like the majority of the iceberg.
Yeah, that's what people think.
But it's actually not true. The dark web is much smaller
Really?
than both the surface web and the deep web.
Huh, that's surprising.
It's hard to get exact figures.
Right, because it's hidden.
But experts agree it's a relatively small part.
Okay, interesting.
Another myth is that you'll automatically get hacked.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Just by visiting the dark web.
Just by going there.
Yeah, like your computer will instantly be infected.
That's scary.
It's not guaranteed, all right?
Okay.
But it is a riskier environment.
Yeah.
You have to be careful. Clicking on random links and downloading files, that can lead to trouble.
So don't do that.
Definitely not. So it's not like a monster that will attack you.
Right.
But you do need to be vigilant.
Makes sense.
And what about the content itself?
Yeah.
Is everything on the dark web illegal?
That's another myth?
It is?
Yeah, not everything is illegal.
Okay.
There are legitimate uses.
Like what?
Those whistleblower platforms, people who prioritize privacy.
They might use the dark web.
Exactly.
So it's not all bad.
No.
But it's definitely a place where you need to be careful.
For sure.
Okay, so for someone who's curious and wants to take a peek, what are some basic safety tips?
Okay, good question.
Obviously, we're not encouraging illegal activities.
Absolutely not.
But if you do go exploring, be smart about it.
Right.
First and foremost, use the Tor browser.
Okay.
It's specifically designed for the dark web.
Right.
It helps with anonymity. And what else?
Never, ever share any personal information.
Right.
No real name, address, email, nothing.
Okay.
Keep your real life separate. It's crucial for your safety.
Makes sense.
And be very careful about clicking links.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Especially from sources you don't trust.
Right. Could be dangerous.
Exactly. Like phishing scams.
Okay, what about VPNs?
VPNs are a good idea.
Why is that?
They add another layer of anonymity.
Okay.
They mask your IP address.
Right.
And encrypt your traffic.
So it's harder to trace you.
Exactly.
Good tip.
And whatever you do, don't download files.
No downloads.
Unless you absolutely trust the source.
Which is rare.
Very rare.
Right.
Those files could be full of malware.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So just avoid it.
Good advice.
And lastly, and I know this goes without saying, stay away from anything illegal.
Right. No buying drugs or anything like that.
No, it's not worth it.
You could get scammed. You could get caught.
Right.
It's just not a good idea.
Avoid it completely.
Our sources compare exploring the dark web to walking through a dangerous neighborhood.
Okay, yeah.
Just because you can go there doesn't mean you should.
Right, be smart about it.
So the dark web, it's a tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
It's all about how you use it.
Exactly.
The same goes for any technology, really.
It's up to the individuals.
Yeah, we make the choices.
So think about the implications of online anonymity.
Yeah.
What are the benefits?
Privacy, free speech.
Right.
But what are the risks?
Lack of transparency, potential for harm.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
Worth thinking about.
Definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the dark web.